This is the Begin Within podcast, where we believe real, lasting health and fitness requires you to start inside before you work out. I'm your host, Nate Slegger, and I'm here to show you behind the scenes of fitness. You already know exercise is good for you, but what about all the other things in life that affect your fitness? If you're looking for extra motivation to get started or to make sure you keep going, this is the place for you.
Produced by BeginWithin.fit.
Improving health is about so much more than just losing weight. But I realize weight loss might be the goal that brought you here to the Begin Within podcast. That's why I wrote my latest book, 5 Ways to Stop Wrecking Weight Loss, to reveal the 5 areas that I see are most overlooked by the people that I work with who want to lose weight. Each one of the chapters in this free ebook describes that specific area that you need to focus on to improve your health and get great permanent results. And it also links back here to episodes of the podcast where we've had experts on the show talking about that specific area. So you can benefit from those previous episodes while you're learning about how to maximize the results that you're after. You can get your free copy of my ebook, 5 Ways to Stop Wrecking Weight Loss, by going to beginwithin.fit/ebook or going to the link in the show notes. Now is a great time to do a little multitasking while you're listening to the start of this episode. Head over to grab your free copy of my book, 5 Ways to Stop Wrecking Weight Loss. If you missed the URL, here it is again, beginwithin.fit/ebook. Or there is a link in the show notes for you. Grab your copy, and now let's get on with today's episode. My guest today is Mike Trupiano. He is one of the founders of the Feel Bar, the company that makes protein bars that have feelings as well as flavors. And we're going to talk about that, how he got started, what it is that he does, what types of ingredients he includes, and I think the bigger theme that I want you to really think about during this interview is the connection between food and feelings. And I know that we all get the concept. We turn to food for comfort. We might turn for energy to certain foods. And I'm thinking about like coffee, right? Obviously that's a drink, but you get the idea, right? We turn to, change our mood sometimes with food from something that's negative, and we turn to a food to make it maybe feel positive. Or not so negative, right? Distract ourselves with food. We turn to food to relieve boredom. We turn to it for, I think so often it's that word relief from something negative. And while that's one way to deal with negative emotions, of course, there are many other beneficial and arguably more beneficial ways to deal with negative emotions. But there is this strong connection, and we're very familiar with it, between feelings and food. And I want you to listen closely during our interview, because I think that what Mike and his team have done is began to kind of reverse engineer that a little bit. Like I said, each of their bars, their protein bars, has a feeling on it, as well as a flavor. There's a feeling, a positive feeling that comes with the bar. That's why it's called the Feel Bar. And so I think that there's this, it's just genius. And I told him that after we stopped the interview. I was like, this is genius. I love it. I met Mike at a conference now almost a year ago, and we talked about him coming on the show, and he agreed. And so we finally made it happen. I'm so excited to have him here with me. Please enjoy my interview with Mike Trupiano.
When I was working at Kellogg out of college, I was put on a lot of really unique innovation projects where they kind of threw me into the fire on some high opportunity projects, and I
Okay.
got to work, cross functionally with a lot of really awesome people that had that were very credible at Kellogg. So we got to work with food developers, food scientists, other engineers, packaging engineers. That's what I went to school for. I went to state for Michigan State for packaging engineering, and from the very get-go, even at state, I was really fascinated with the entire industry of CPG and how fast it evolves, and there's trends around the corner. It seems like every quarter of the year. It's just crazy. Everything happens, and I'm a very chaotic person, so I kind of like that. And I had a really cool opportunity to work for Kellogg, and I did work for Kellogg for 3 years out of college, and I sort of fell in love with that process of starting starting with the concepts, building out the brand, building the package, and coming up with a use case and just bringing it to market. And the whole process, start to finish, was super exciting for me. And it's very fulfilling to be able to see the product you work so hard on, you and all these people work so hard on, and to see it at a store is just a feeling that's really hard to put into words. It's very fulfilling, it's rewarding, and it's motivating to do more. So the only issue was those products we were putting out in the stores were very indulgent, tasty, but they didn't serve a greater purpose.
Okay.
And I think they kind of hurt a lot of consumers in a way. And I think was Kellogg is very bottom line oriented, where they put the corporation before the consumer, and they focus on commodity ingredients that are easy to source, that and marketable things that consumers will love, time and time again. And granted, they are approaching, like any big company, they're slow to adapt. But this whole movement of health and nutrition, I got really immersed in, and I sort of surrounded myself with quality ingredients, quality healthcare products, and I just kind of flipped my lifestyle. Um, it's funny because I don't think I would have this extreme mentality if I didn't meet the people I met in my life. It's so funny how everything happens. Um, but there's a few people in my life that really influenced me to take this dive down holistic medicine. And when I did, I got really familiar with that sort of lifestyle, and I realized I just felt a lot better when I knew I was, avoiding the non the toxins and the the stuff that most consumers, you know, deal with. It's just really hard to find clean ingredients
Mhm.
in the products that we buy, both in medicine, uh, foods, and healthcare items, just across the board. It's just hard to do that in a clean way and an affordable way. So um, I ended up leaving Kellogg, and I wanted to do something on my own. Obviously, I have this, I had this yearning to do something different, and you know, not change the world, but I had this like this really these big goals and aspirations, and I wanted to put that energy into something that I felt, that I could have ownership on. So at the time, I was talking to someone, um, and I realized I was spending thousands of dollars at Whole Foods on a regular basis, and I'm like, I'm so sick of giving these guys all my money. The snacks there were quality. It's kind of like the go-to place to go to grab snacks for her.
Mhm.
And so I thought, like, hey, we could probably save a lot of money if we just made our own. So that's kind of how it started. I tried to make a snack that I knew would make her feel really good with a clean ingredient profile, but also is very allergy friendly, gut friendly, and had functional ingredients. So holistic medicine is adjacent to a lot of the nootropic movements going on right now with adaptogens like ashwagandha and maca root. Kava is becoming pretty popular now. Um, so I started incorporating those the little snack bars I was making, uh, and then you know I started taking these bars to farmers markets because I just wanted to grow that concept of feeling good about the food that we eat. And originally we called it feel because it made you feel different, made you feel better. It's just like a good feeling you had around the product. And I think our slogan at the time was healthy brain, happy stomach. And it was a testament to the functional ingredients and the clean ingredients that we were using. But later on, we evolved the branding. I had this guy join in. That's Matt, my co-founder,
Oh my
COO now.
goodness, I didn't see him hiding there. Okay.
Yeah, he's working. I mean, work every day. It's just constantly. There's a million things to do. So we're growing this brand, and we're very excited. We finally have a really sound product, uh, a proven concept. People actually want this, which is it was a very tough sell at farmers markets. There's a bunch of cookies. There was a bunch of garbage food around every corner that people would, be
Sure.
all about, and I get it. Like, who doesn't want, a sugary snack, especially if it's like homemade, cookies, muffin, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But this is much different. We're actually creating a snacking revolution, I would say, because there's so many glorified candy bars out there
Hmm.
that people are consumers are deceived all the time on branding. I've got a million bars here that I look at, and I see like gut friendly, clean ingredients, and it's very deceptive because all these companies are using very subpar ingredients that actually you know they raise your blood sugar. A lot of the syrups that they use, the soluble fibers they use in a lot of the bars now. It's just become a very saturated category, and I
Hmm.
get it because it's very low barrier to entry. Anyone could, go in their kitchen and start a protein bar company. But the issue is people focus on the manufacturability and not so much what's good for the consumer.
Hmm.
And what's good for the consumer isn't necessarily the most profitable thing you could do. So we continue to focus on supremely quality ingredients that made people feel really good, and hence the brand feel. That's our mission, is to make people feel really good about the snacks that they consume that we make.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
and yeah, so since then we've been growing and growing, and it's just the two of us, me and Matt, and we've got some great people that work with us. But yeah, we're definitely on a mission to support mental health as well. Is a big part of our mission too. There's so many, post COVID. There's so many depressed people, and just looking for um, an alternative to their Adderall or their antidepressant. And it really does start with diet. I think if you change everything you eat is directly impacts how you feel. And if you can eat the right things, you can feel a lot better, perform better in life, and do better things. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of meaning behind feel. Um, and so yeah, it's been very fun. I love hearing about amazing people out there that find the product and are like in love with it, and like, I've never found anything like this before. And it's very heartwarming, especially when they want to work with us. We've
Yeah.
had it's usually like a few a week that we get people sending us notes and mail and saying we'd love to work with you guys and grow this business with you,
Awesome.
because we are a small business and we give off that vibe. And, well, it's true.
Yeah.
So
Can
so yeah,
you talk? Actually, I wanted to ask if you don't mind. You mentioned adaptogens.
yeah,
Uh, this is a health show. I've had so many different experts on. We've talked about all kinds of different nutrition concepts. I honestly can't, we may have in one of these episodes talked about adaptogens, but could you just give like the simplest explanation of what you mean when you use that? Like what that is?
sure. Yeah, so we use adaptogens and super herbs because not every single active ingredient we use is an adaptogen. We use ashwagandha, which is um, which is an ancient herb that actually helps suppress cortisol in the right dose. So we use 300 milligrams in our sun butter chocolate chip, um, and that's our Field Restore bar. And then we use I think 500 milligrams of lion's mane, our focus bar. Lion's mane mushroom is the adaptogenic mushroom, and what that does is it actually helps. restore brain cells and help repair neurons in the brain, um, and the reproduction of neurons in the brain, which is super powerful. It's one of the more clinically studied adaptogens. And you can use like lion's mane in conjunction with reishi. They do similar things, but a lot of people have, have coined them like immunity mushrooms too. We use turmeric in our it's the golden goodness. It's our immunity bar, and we actually use a functional dose in conjunction with some black pepper to increase its bioavailability to help the inflammation fighting properties. We've got a calm bar with kava, 250 milligrams of kava, and to give you a calming sensation after a long day, hard day at work. It's just a natural means to decompress. We use maca root in our balance bar. That's our caramel sea salt. It's a really popular one, and so the maca root is interesting because it's a Peruvian ancient herb, and it's been used to support stamina, uh, mental performance, and a lot of people actually use it a lot of people take it over the counter as a pill because it helps with libido. It's becoming very on trend. You can
Okay.
I've seen it in chocolates. I've seen it as like a aphrodisiac. It's a kind of an interesting ingredient, but we use it in that caramel bar. And then the last one is my favorite one. It's the matcha latte. We use the ceremonial grade matcha, which is a really high premium, high antioxidant, shade grown matcha that gives you natural energy without the crash from traditional coffee. So it's like an espresso shot of coffee without the crash. It's pretty awesome. Not to mention, every single bar has 15 grams of protein, a really healthy balance of protein, carbs, and fats. So we're going for nutrient dense, calorie deficient. So lower calories, higher nutrient profile instead of the other way around,
Yeah.
which is a lot of bars. A lot of bars are just out there to fuel you and give you, I don't know, a bunch of oats and syrup will get you through. They'll satisfy your hunger in the short term, but what are they really doing aside from that for your body and your mind?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, probably giving you something that tastes like a candy bar and acts like a candy bar inside your body, but you feel like you're okay eating it, right? Because it's in the
Yeah,
protein, the supplement aisle. Um, and I think one of the cool things, and obviously with feel, and you just mentioned some of them, Mike, it is the each of the bars, rather than like a flavor, they have a feeling that is that's on the label, right? Could you tell
that's
us
right.
about how did you come up with those, or how do you know when it's time to add another? Do you call them flavors or do you call them feelings?
Um, I think other bars have flavors, ours have feelings, but I also think it depends on the consumer. Some buyers will call them the restore bar and the immunity bar, but we put the flavor and the feeling on there because most people are used to calling bars by their flavors, but the uh, the feeling's a subset. So our plan is to really expand that immunity line and create more flavors that have different elements of immunity. Um, but yeah, so it's the feeling is behind the flavor. I wouldn't say it's secondary. I think there's a purpose to each bar,
Mhm.
but all in all, that we support mental and physical well-being. So there's really no right answer.
Hmm.
They're just it's got cool branding, and there's a lot of subliminal, happy, relaxed, fun features behind the branding. The backwards E's and smiley face. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. We do with our nutrition coaching, we'll encourage our clients to really try to pay attention to how they feel before they eat, and then
Mm,
how they're feeling after. And I I think that if we start paying attention to how the food we're eating is making us feel, um, and connecting it, I think connecting that together, right? That, oh, I don't feel so good. Actually being like, what have I been eating lately? That things will start to shift for us in our life and in our health.
hmm
Do you agree
Yeah,
with that?
it's sort of a testament to mindful eating. So you're pairing these so a lot of people like eat their feelings. Will have like a really stressful day, they get broken up with, I'll eat like a couple tubs of ice cream, or like this is a this is sort of like a healthier alternative to mindful eating. So if you're craving energy and you feel a little bit slower in the morning, which is totally normal. You're not going to have a slam dunk day every day. Now, people have different mechanisms to gaining natural energy every day. I've been doing these cold plunges, and that's a really effective way to kickstart my day. And a lot of people, will eat a certain product to give them that enhanced state of mind. But lately, something I've been doing is taking my bar and using it as sort of like a blender bar. So I'll take like an immunity bar, and I'll throw some Greek yogurt, a banana, maybe even a nut butter, and I'll throw it in a smoothie and it's a full serving. So I get 15 grams of protein. I get some solid carbs, some natural sugar for natural sweetness, and I get the turmeric to fight inflammation post workout. And it's like the perfect thing to do. And so if you're out, if you don't want to eat something, sometimes I don't want to eat in the morning, so I'll do a smoothie and yeah, kickstart the day. And I think it's like feeding your mood a little bit. You do things to feed your mood. If you want to, if you had a great week and you want to celebrate, you might go out with some friends. Um, and it's very similar to eating. If you if you're lower on energy, you have something to help that energy. If you don't feel as focused, you eat something to help regain that focus. In this case, it's our focus bar. That bar is like people people like are obsessed with that brownie chocolate chip. It's our top selling bar, and people genuinely say like it's helped them in the middle of their day and their work day, and they have it at the desk, and it helps them get them through their day. It's like the natural Adderall. So
And
yeah,
that's
there's a lot of
lion's
very
mane,
effective
right?
things. Lion's mane mushroom in
Yeah.
that brownie chocolate chip. Yeah, it's a great ingredient. We love it.
Oh man, very cool. Like I said, I think for me that was the draw. I mean, when we first met at a conference, I was like, what is this? Like this is really cool. I could see right away, like that's the feelings on the label. I thought, man,
Mhm.
super smart. And I think the bigger for me, it's that bigger lesson of like, so we will go to something to make us feel a certain way, but just in general, realizing if I go to this food for comfort or whatever energy, then what about all the other foods in between when I'm not just specifically seeking them out for that? And maybe realizing am I really getting the feeling from these foods that I thought I was? Like I ate this to feel better, but 2 hours later, am I still feeling better that I ate that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really does help connect the dots a little bit. Like you're almost expect if you get a bunch of Oreos, you're gonna expect to not feel great. Oreos and milk. You're not gonna expect to feel, oh, I feel great. I'm gonna go for a run. Like
Mhm.
you, I really believe this with confidence that what you eat, directly impacts how you feel, and then based on your feeling in every day, you can do great things. And I think it's just a huge enabler to what you can accomplish in your own life, your own goals. I'd like to think that we're a small piece of that,
Yeah.
and hopefully fueling people in a mindful way.
Yeah. Well, you've been very mindful about how you put it all together. So that's awesome. How can
Appreciate it.
listeners check out the product, connect with you? What do you
Mhm.
recommend?
Yeah, so they can go to the website. That's the best place to learn about the benefits of the bar. And we just dropped our bundling program where you could swap bars and build your own bundle. It's very affordable. We've taken a lot of cost out of it too. So it's just thefeelbar.com. And in the about section too, you can read up on the functional ingredients that we use in every bar. We've got 6 of them. And the variety pack is number one seller because people like to try every flavor, and then from there they could, you know, order them in bulk via bundle and save some money.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Mike Trupiano, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
There you have it. I want to thank Mike so much for coming here on the show. I encourage him to do more podcast interviews after being here with me on the Begin Within Health Show because I love the message. I love his angle on the connection between food and feelings, as you know, and the work that he's doing. I think is amazing. So if you get a chance, I want to encourage you to check out thefeelbar.com and give one of those products a try. Thefeelbar.com. Check it out. There's a link in the show notes waiting for you as well. And you can also connect with them on Instagram. So follow Mike's work, support him and his team in their efforts, please. I think you'll agree, as someone who's concerned with wellness, that the approach just to the overall production of the food that they share is one that we need a lot more of. We could definitely benefit a lot more from those who approach it in a way to really benefit the people that are eating and consuming the foods that are being created and not just trying to make money. So please check it out. Please support them. Give it a try. If you are someone that is going to be eating some packaged food anyway, some packaged protein bars perhaps, give theirs a try. You got to try it and see what you think. Now back to that bigger theme that I talked about at the intro, and of course we talked about it during the interview as well, is the idea of the connection between food and feelings. We get it, we understand it to some extent, but I think that it's so much bigger than what you and I realize on the surface. That when we really tune in, when we really, really reflect on some of the feelings that we have, food, the things we've been eating and drinking, probably have a lot more influence over our feelings than what we even realize. And I'll give you an example. I want to give you an example of something that happened to me in my life. You know me. If you've been around this show, you know that I'm not somebody who's like, you got to eat perfect all the time. I believe that you have to have a little bit of fun once in a while. You have to have foods that you naturally enjoy, either as part of your own personal history or part of your culture, whatever it is. I don't believe like, oh, bad foods, good foods. I believe that there's some foods that are definitely healthier for us and some that are less healthy. But I don't think if you have less healthy foods once in a while or a less healthy meal that you went off track or you did anything bad by any means. And so I am the type of person who once in a while orders food at a restaurant that maybe is a little less healthy than some of the other things on the menu. Maybe it's a lot less healthy than some of the other things on the menu. And I recently did that when we went out on the weekend to a place that served breakfast, right? And I don't know, once in a while I will get like a really yummy breakfast order. A lot of times I'll do like a veggie omelet or a vegetable skillet, sometimes those kinds of things. Well, this time I did like a country fried steak with gravy and like, potatoes and a pancake and some eggs. And it was less healthy. Let's put it that way, right? And of course, there's a feeling when you're done of a little bit of like, Um, but what was interesting is because I was talking to Amanda after we got in the car and we were driving a little ways. I was like, you know what? I don't really feel my feeling overall about that wasn't that bad. Like I don't feel bad about myself. Like, and of course I shouldn't. Like I said, I believe what I just said earlier about I'm not bad because I have something that's less healthy, but I was really like, you know what? I don't really feel that like heavy. I don't feel like bloated. I don't feel whatever. You get the idea, right? I was kind of like, hey, I don't really regret it. That was sort of fun, and it was yummy, and it was good. Tasted good to me. Um, but here's what I noticed: hours later in the day, I had some how do I want to say this? Some anxiety about things that would be going to be happening the next day, right? The next day of my life, I was starting to worry a little bit. I was starting to have some negative feelings about it, some pessimism, and started thinking like, oh, I'm really not looking forward to tomorrow. And then it hit me. Then it hit me. All that food, all that sugar, all that fat, right? At the time, hey, it was fun. It tasted good and whatever. I didn't have any regrets. But all of a sudden, when I was dealing with a little bit of some powerful negative emotions, I was like, hey, is this from breakfast? Perhaps. And here's the thing. We could argue all day whether it was or it wasn't. Um, But what I do believe is that when we start really focusing, we've had other guests on the podcast that have explained this to us, that there is a much farther reaching emotional consequence to the things that we're eating than just the regret that I had something less healthy or feelings of guilt that I overate. There are some powerful emotional components to what we ate. And I think I was experiencing some of that. And I think when we start to tune in, and that's what I'm going to encourage you to do, that's the action step that I want to encourage you to take as a result of listening to this interview with Mike, and the whole idea behind the Feel Bar, his product, is focus in on how you feel as it relates to some of the last things that you ate. If you start to become aware of some really powerful negative emotions that you're having, I would love for you to think back. What have I had in the last 24 hours? In the last few days, how has my eating been? Has it been more healthy or less healthy? Because when we start to really focus in, I think that we're going to find that the way that we treat ourselves at the table with what's on our plate does impact how we're feeling later on. But unless we create some awareness about it, unless we really start to notice, it's going to be lost on us. We're not going to be able to pick up on the patterns. What I want you to do is I'm going to encourage you to start picking up on the patterns, start noticing any patterns between how healthy or less healthy you might be eating and how you're feeling. And again, I'm talking about beyond the I feel like I overate, I feel bloated, I feel regretful or whatever about that food. I want you to focus on the deeper feelings. And I'd love to know if you're noticing some connections. If you are or you're not, I want to hear about it. So what I would love for you to do is screenshot yourself listening to this episode, post it to your stories, and tag me in it and tell me if it's true or if it's a hoax. But I think that you're going to find the same thing that I did, that there's definitely a strong connection. And once we start to notice it, once we become aware of it, then we can start to influence it. We can start to have some control over it. And again, I want to thank Mike for coming on the show. I want to thank him for the work that he's doing. And I think the bigger message of this connection between the foods we're eating and the feelings we're having. Great topic here for the Begin Within Health Show. Again, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you so much for reviewing the show. If you haven't done so already, I want to thank you in advance for doing it now. And I will talk with you next time here on the Begin Within Health Show.